Hey everyone, Donnie Icenhour here. If you're serious about passing the North Carolina real estate exam, this chapter matters more than you think. Chapter 1 may seem very basic, but that's what chapter 2, 3, 4, all the way up to chapter 20 is built on. And so in this video, I'm going to break down for you using some of the concepts that you need to know, not just understand, but that you will use to pass this state exam. So let's jump in. Real property versus personal property. Real property, that is land and anything that is permanently attached to that land. Personal property, thinking of it as movable. And then deed versus bill of sale. Let's start with the most tested topic, real property versus personal property. Real property is the land and anything that is permanently attached to it. If you've got a question about what is permanently attached to it, ask yourself this: is it nailed? Is it screwed? Is it glued? Or is it buried? Then yes, it is real property. And so examples of this would be a house or a deck that's built onto the house, trees, built-in fixtures within that home. Now, what is personal property? Personal property can easily be summed up as this: if it moves, then it's personal property. An example of that could be furniture within the house, TVs, cars in the driveway, lawnmowers, things like that. And so let's make this real simple with an example you may actually see in a transaction. Let's say your buyer is purchasing a home and it has a huge yard, and they love the seller's riding lawnmower that's sitting there in the garage. Now remember, that lawnmower is personal property because it is movable. And so the buyer say, hey, I would like for that lawnmower to be included in the purchase of the house. Normally, you'd have to negotiate that because that is personal property. So what do? You negotiate it separately in the contract. You make that a separate part of the contract. You might see language like this: seller agrees to convey the riding lawnmower to buyer at closing for $500. Now here's the key part of this exam that you'll need to know. The house, that will transfer with the deed, but the lawnmower, that will transfer with a bill of sale. With a bill of sale. That is how personal property is transferred. So real property transfers with a deed, personal property transfers with a bill of sale. Now as you get into this real estate class and you go further along, there may be words that is difficult for you to say, such as for me, I struggle with this word. It's appurtenance. Appurtenance. What appurtenances is goes with the property forever. Big word, but it's an easy concept. It means anything that's attached to the property, physically or legally, that transfers with it. Physically, we know that the house, the fence, the trees, the deck will transfer with that property, but legally, things like easements, HOAs, and zoning rules. You don't get to pick and choose what goes with the property. If you buy the property, you get all of it, everything that goes with the property. Let's talk about land. What is land? Land is surface plus air and subsurface. Everything from the center of the earth to the sky above. What that means is mineral rights, air rights, and subsurface rights. You own all of these unless they are legally separated, and you can separate mineral rights. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. What are characteristics of real estate? Let's talk about some of those physical characteristics. And so we want to understand that characteristics is immobility, indestructibility, and its uniqueness. And so real estate, these three characteristics: immobility, you can't move it. Indestructibility, land does not go away. And then uniqueness, this is the biggest one here. No property is the same. No property is exactly the same. And so the economic characteristics of land that we want to know about is scarcity, location, improvements, and permanence of the investment or of the land. And so scarcity, what that is limited land has higher value. Location, that's the most economic factor with land. We always hear it. Location, location, location. Improvements, anything added to increase the value of that land. And then also permanence of that investment. You can't move improvements, so they're tied to the land. Now, what we need to understand with the land is highest and best use. That's the maximum value use of that property. Highest and best use that gives the land the highest value of that property. And so let's clear this up for a little bit. Highest and best use can change over time, but there is only one highest and best use at any given moment. Here's an example. Imagine a small home sitting on a busy corner. 20 years ago, that was a quiet, residential, low-traffic location of that home. So at that time, the highest and best use of that property was residential. Now let's fast forward until today. That same corner is surrounded by retail, restaurants, and high traffic. So what is the highest and best use now? It is no longer residential, but it's commercial. Here's a key factor for us to understand for the exam. Even though the change of the highest and best use will happen over time, there's only one use that produces its highest value. So remember, that small house on a busy corner at one time was residential, but now it's surrounded by commercial buildings, and the highest best use is not residential anymore. It would now be commercial. So when we talk about real estate, let's look at it as an investment. Let's look at the appreciation, the cash flow, and the tax advantages. It's three easy ways to make that money from real estate. Appreciation, value that increases over time. Cash flow, you can use it as rental income. And then there are also tax advantages for having and owning real estate. But the biggest disadvantage of real estate is that it's not liquid. It's not like stock where we can instantly sell to get a return on our money. And so with real estate, there are different types of real estate property. There are 5 types. You have residential, you have commercial, you have industrial, you have agricultural, and you have special purpose. So what residential is, think of it as you live there. That would be houses, condominiums, and apartments up 1 to 4 units, typically to count for residential. Commercial, property used for business purposes. That would be office buildings, retail stores, or shopping centers. Industrial, property used for manufacturing or production. That would be warehouses, factories, and distribution centers. Agricultural, properties used for farming and raising animals. That would be farms, ranches, and timberlands. And then special purpose properties. These are properties with unique public or community use, such as schools, churches, government buildings, and parks. But for test purposes, we want to spend more time understanding residential. Remember, you live there. Income producing properties. Remember, that makes money. And then special purpose, that's schools, churches, and government buildings. Think of live, make money, and special purpose. Let's talk about supply and demand of real estate. This is straight test math logic. Remember, more supply, lower prices. More demand, higher prices. Factors that affect supply could be cost, could be labor, and government control. Factors affecting demand, that could be jobs, wages, population, and the economy are things that could affect the demand on property. Let's talk about our role as real estate brokers versus being a realtor. So in North Carolina, everyone is a broker. We are a one licensed state. But a realtor, that is membership in the National Association of Realtors. Not all brokers are realtors, but in North Carolina, all realtors are brokers. Let's wrap this up. Let's review what deed versus bill of sale. Real property versus personal property. Remember that word appurtenances? What is that? Remember what uniqueness is. Location is the number one economic factor. Highest and best use. Remember supply and demand. If you remember nothing else from chapter 1, remember this. Real property transfers with a deed. Personal property moves. Uniqueness, no two properties are the same. Location matters. Location. And highest and best use, that's the max value. Master this, and you're all set, ready for chapter 2 and to continue building on your real estate knowledge. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss out on the next chapter. We're building this step by step to help you pass your real estate exam. Also, be sure to follow me and Excel School of Real Estate on Facebook for more tips, updates, and real estate training content. And as always, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me directly, Donnie at excelrealestateschool.com. I am here to help you to succeed, and I'll see you in the next video.